It's good to be here today with Andy Schwall, Danny's dad. Obviously we interviewed Danny earlier today, and we knew of each other back in the day, but we only met about 18 months ago, me and Andy.
Yeah, since Danny's been doing his fighting.
And his boxing.
And we did a little bit of training.
Exactly, down at the gym.
I looked to do a fight myself, but then, what do you call it, Jason Guyver, I think he won't come out of retirement. I'm only joking. I would like to have fought Jason.
3 rounds with Jason.
1 round with Jason. Yeah, only 1 round, Jason.
What do you think about your boy fighting when he came to you?
To be honest, it's a bit of a, for me, the discipline and the training side of it is good for kids. It's good for, I'd say he's a kid, he's 20 now.
Yeah. And
I think what you do, Alan, and it gives them an opportunity to see the real side of boxing. Yeah. And I think it's good for the discipline, for the training. Anyone who goes in there and trains for that amount of time, then gets in and does it, it's off, and it's good for the discipline. I think it's good for him.
Well, I said to Danny earlier today, because obviously he's DJing and his music festivals, which we'll get on to in a minute. When he's got a 10 or 12 week training camp, it keeps him on the straight and narrow, if you don't mind me saying that, which is good. I've got 4 sons myself, so we know that. What I'd like to talk to you about is a bit of history with yourself, because you've got...
Yeah, because you're fighting at West Ham, aren't they? So
this is it. With the football.
Yeah.
Read us in. I said to Danny today, would you say your dad is a West Ham fanatic? Am I wrong to say that, Andy, or what? Tell me.
Yeah, over the years I've sort of been going since I was a baby.
Really?
I lived across the road to the ground. Yeah. Sort of 12, 13, I had trials at West Ham, and then over the years, we formed the Intercity firm.
So that was all part and parcel.
Yeah.
Was you writing at the ground zero there?
Well, there's 3 of us. There's a film coming out soon.
Okay.
Where it would expose who formed the Intercity firm.
Right.
There was 3 of us who did it. It was our name. We formed it in '76, and it became commercial around about '78.
Right. Okay.
So I was instrumental in all of that from the early days. Yeah. But the film will show you that as we go along.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So with the West Ham side of it, and like you say with the ICF music, we get onto, because not just with the football and that side of it, you, I believe, unless I'm wrong, that you was the one that ushered in the rave scene in East London, or tell me about that.
So again, basically what happens, the film is a little bit about the Intercity firm history, and then it goes into a thing called the Right to Party. Right. So over the years where we was into the football, and then around about 86, 87, we went into house music.
This is right at the start?
Yeah, I was right at the start. I was there in 86, 87.
Okay.
And it's 30 years on now, and we're doing a festival called Sound On, which is the 30 years of dance music. Really? Where we was the first ones to do the parties in East London. We did all the big acid house raves. Right. Then we did a radio station, Centreforce.
Centreforce, so I remember that back in that time.
That's 88, 89.
Okay, yeah.
Then we had a record label, Craig David, up for Dodger, Miss Dynamite. So our, if you like, it's quite funny. When I'm ringing up these agents to booking up people for my festival, they're saying, "Oh, you're a new promoter." So I've been doing it 30 years.
You've been there from the start.
30 years.
So you're booking the acts.
Yeah, and what's happening? You're finding that the people who are doing it today are doing it for the money. Right. You know, we was doing it for the love of the music and to go out. And I think that people's lost the way. You know, people are asking us for 20, 30,000 £. We was lucky to get 20, 30 quid.
This is what they want.
This is what they want. And they're asking you, you're a new festival. We're not been here 30 years. Yeah. And it goes back to the football. Yeah. It goes back to London. You know, we was probably the biggest house scene in London. Really? It was definitely the biggest radio station in London. Yeah. And we were the biggest party promoters in London. So, all based around the East End. East End of London. Yeah, Shoreditch was our biggest. Yeah. Shoreditch was my first warehouse. Right. Then I went into Stratford. None of them are there anymore. No. All gone. All the warehouses now. All flats. But he's fed up, Danny. How many times we drive through East London? I go, every day. I've done a warehouse over there. I go, what about? He goes, that's where you was born. I go, that's your school. We said that earlier on today, that London now has changed so much, some to the good, some to the bad, but it's like a shifting scenario now, isn't it, when you drive around. The thing is it's London as we know it, as I know it, and you know it, Alan, can never be replicated. They could never be the same. No. The new London ain't for me. No. It's too cosmopolitan. It's not for me. It's not for London, not for Londoners. London now is for the mass, whoever you are. And I think it's lost that special appeal. I used to be proud to say I come from London, people say, where do you come from now? I say I come from Essex.
Yeah.
You know, before I wouldn't even want to be associated with Essex.
Well, like an Essex boy.
Yeah, so you've got that, you know.
Having a game there, but...
Don't shoot.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
No shooting. I'm from Essex now. But no, and that's what I'm saying. People from East London and from North London, you'd be proud of your heritage of London.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think it's important that, you know, that you're doing your boxing at West Ham Stadium before it goes.
Yeah, it's great.
Because it's the first time Danny will be out of fight without being nicked.
I've got 4 sons, and they've all fought.
Yeah, I know.
And I taught them, I've been there, I've seen them spar with each other, and I know what it's like, more so for the missus than it is for that. But how do you feel when Danny fights? Tell me what goes through your old...
To be honest, the first time I see him, because I fought myself when I was a kid, so I've done it myself.
Yeah.
When I see Danny fight the first time, it seemed to be so quick, the emotions was pretty much not there. 1 minute he was coming down, I was nervous, and the next minute he'd stop the kid. But the second time, Jason asked me, because she spun it back on his head, I asked Jason Guyver to coach him, because I knew Jason...
Good trainer.
Jason would teach him for that 2 or 3 minutes what to do for a short fight, and he's the best at it. So it was in good company. Yeah. But then Jason asked me to be the coach, to put the gumshoe in.
Yeah. I ended up with a stall in your mouth and the gumshoe on the floor.
To call the man in seconds. Yeah.
Then I was too close up. It's frightening. You're worried because the thing I would say, which I found, the 2 minutes for 3 rounds is probably no less dangerous than the 13 weeks of his life on the street. Yeah, because 13 weeks on the street, in clubs, in today's society, if he can come off for them periods at a time and you can take him under your care and guidance, I think it's worth them 2 minutes for 3 or 4 rounds, whatever. So I do think that it balances off. That's
a good way of putting it, but what I see as we're talking here, I see a very, very good relationship. I know you're father and son, but you look like more like mates as well.
Yeah, well,
I know it's putting you on the spot, Dan, and you probably have a chance. How do you get on the pair of you?
We get on really well. To be fair, we have our arguments, we have our ups and downs, but it's because we're so similar. I think anyone that knows us both, they'll both know that we're there for a good time. We don't like being horrible or whatever, but at the same time, we don't like being crossed, and if you do cross us, then we are we are, do you know what I mean? That fighter in us does come out. And I think that's pretty much why I'm not the geezer out so quickly in the first fight. It's because I thought he was a bit disrespectful before the fight.
Right, I'm with it, because you went out there all guns blazing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second fight, Jason, he was a bit different before the fight. He was a bit leery. But Jason said, "Don't go and do what you done for the first fight. Take your time.
Listen to what he said."
But yeah, I think this fight, I don't really told him yet, and I was waiting for you to tell him. That the geezer is from South London, and
Does that make it? Was that a funny question? That was a pun. Wanted to get a reaction. Got it.
I think maybe you tricked them 400 tickets for 4,000. I think we'll sell a lot.
It makes a big thing because historically, you know, the West Ham Millwall thing. That's never going to go away. You know, because this is history over the docks. You know, if my grandfather knew I was having a Millwall fan or someone from South London, he would not talk to me.
Goes right back.
Because he goes back beyond it. It goes back to where they crossed the picket line. Our fathers didn't. It goes back to taking money out of their pockets, poverty, and that's what the East London. Don't forget, South Millwall are from East London. They come from Isle of Dogs. It's only when they actually went back to the other side or went to the other side. So it makes a big difference. I talk to people from Millwall and South London. I could never be mates with them because I come from East London and I'm a staunch West Ham.
Very staunch.
And to be honest, they're the same to us. We're two very similar. East London and South London, we're too similar. So he has to win. There ain't no. Sorry.
It's no.
So there's more pressure on him now.
And you've got plenty of fans coming, haven't you, son? All from
I mean, to be honest, I think the first fight shook people up a bit. I think there's a few people that was umming and ahhing about coming to watch me, thought I was going to get in there and it was going to be a rollover. It weren't a rollover. I battered the geezer, and that's the truth. I think, and after that fight, I think that made people realise that I'm not in it for one fight. I'm not in it for 2 fights. I'm in it for the long run, and
And you're
and I've got potential.
You're training proper. This is it.
And I think we last time we done what 350, 400. I think this time I could sell the old 1,000 on my own. If I'm being honest, I think that no problem, especially with this Millwall connection, South London connection. Now, I think the tickets would fly even more. But we're comfortable. I'm comfortable in the way that I've got my supporters behind me, and obviously I appreciate everything that they do for me, because they keep me on the straight and narrow as well. Because I'm not just fighting for myself, I'm fighting for everyone who comes and pays their money to come and watch me fight. So I can't ask for more than that.
But one thing I would like to say, and I went to one of the fights, and one of my mates had to pull someone after because some kid was going, that's a fix. Well, let's just say that this kid goes for 13 weeks, doesn't go out, doesn't drink, doesn't see his mates. For 13 weeks, if it was a fix, he would be out. And I think that and a lot of your fighters, and I've seen a lot of your fighters, no one's, I was close, I spent a bit of time in your gym training, I trained with a lot of these boys. These boys are dedicated. I don't think there's nothing thing as a thing. You might get the odd ones where there's a bit of a mismatch. That's boxing. You know, you go and look
anywhere.
Go and look at all your top fighters. Go and Andy Joshua. He's had mixed fights, and if you look at Frank Bruno, probably had more mixed fights than anybody in that's boxing. And you can't throw a young kid in with a foot.
No way.
There ain't no way. And so when that is, but to say to somebody that it's a that's disrespectful for any boxer that spends that amount of time, and that's something that you're boxing. You know, and I think that it will come out in these shows how dedicated these boys are.
They are dedicated.
Because they go to work and train. Exactly. But a lot of boxers box and get big paydays.
Big paydays, and they've got big sponsors, and they've got that. But what you got there, you've got two things, like your dad's saying, you've got what I call internet armchair warriors, that do it all on there. And then you've got the people that will sit down and watch the boxing show, and then they'll knock, but ask them to get in that boxing ring.
They aren't getting in there.
Let them get in and then do it. That's another story. But listen, it's going to be a good night.
I can't wait.
Saturday night at West Ham Football Ground.